All right, so there we go. Go here, go here. Hey, Richard, what do you think of that?
I've always been a metal fan, so
Yeah,
anything that has some good guitar. I know it's AI, but it's kind of cool. It's good to be testing out.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mic is so. My camera is really grainy. I didn't realize how bad it was this morning.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you're kind of washed out. Let's see. Share this tab instead. All right. Producing my own show is fun. Let's see. Okay, I did that, and then I go here. Yeah, you did. So that was that song was created by Tim Bodnar, at Truthslinger X. I think it's a relatively new one, obviously using artificial intelligence. And you've done the same thing. And tell us about the one that I've got it all queued up here.
Yeah, so I wanted to write one about like the LGBTQ, and it just kind of talks about how like it pretty much devours the family tree, because the whole purpose of the LGBTQ movement is to pretty much cut off reproduction. So the whole focus is actually about transhumanism and transgenderism. And I wrote the lyrics 100% from scratch. And then I have the lyrics at the bottom. And then I used AI imagery and AI grok video short clips or whatever to kind of convey the image. Because the LGBTQ movement is more than just like being gay, right? It's a depopulation initiative. And maybe it didn't come out as that, but its primary directive is pretty much to reduce population. If you took an entire country and you said everyone's going to be LGBTQ, you'd be over. You're done, right? You take 10 people on an island and say, hey, you're all going to be LGBTQ, you're not going to last too long. So it's guaranteed destruction of a human society.
So we won't listen to the whole thing. It's 3 minutes, 44 seconds, and I'll try to put the link to the X post in the notes for the video. But people can probably find it if they just go to @uninquirer on X and then scroll, right?
Yeah.
And they can see it.
I always go abstract. A lot of my stuff's a bit too abstract for people, but.
So, all right, here we go. This is by Richard Coffran, his AI music debut. If I can figure out what to do here. View the X tab. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Oops, unmute. Go back to the beginning. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, I don't. That's weird. I don't think that's the actual beginning of it.
Colors that bleed are colors that feed, devouring you and your family tree.
LGBTQ decolonizes the West. LGBTQ dismantles the rest. Depopulation, manipulation, replacement collapse, population lapse, fabrication, demasculation, mass formation, disruption. LGBTQ decolonizes the West. LGBTQ dismantles the rest. Depopulation, manipulation, replacement collapse, population lapse. Colors that bleed are colors that feed, devouring you and your family tree.
right. So you wrote those lyrics?
Yeah. I write 99% of all the lyrics for all the songs. I've done probably about 15 songs. I don't let because then it doesn't make any sense. Like at that point, I'm not really doing a single thing. I'm just clicking a button. But yeah, all the songs are like that. I've done probably about 15 songs. And every video has a perfect meaning to it. Like it shows like the little Antifa kids playing in the sand, right? And then it shows them still playing in the sand, but it's a huge desert of wasteland, and they're still doing the same thing with their masks on as the world collapses around them. But anyways,
I see. I see this AI assisted art as being extremely effective politically. Don't you?
Yeah. I mean, think about how many people you saw this a long time ago with all this, and a lot of people push back, maybe not against you, but against the idea of it. But then you look at Trump, and he's utilizing every drop of it to win. Like it would be like when the TV came out, and people were like, "Oh, don't even use television. No one's going to watch that." What are you doing? Well,
right. The no Kings crowd is all up in arms because he came out with that jet dropping crap on him.
Yeah,
I chuckled. I came out and supported him at the very beginning in January of 2016. Didn't know a thing about him really, other than he was kind of a Richie Rich character in my mind. I never watched his shows or followed his career prior to that, but he tweeted about Bush, which I want to talk about with you today because we've got a Bush problem in Maine now. John Bush is running for governor. But he tweeted about, forget his name, but the Florida governor, Bush.
Oh, yeah.
Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
I think it was Jeb. And he came up with a pet name and he posted, back then it was Twitter, and he tweeted this insult. And at that point in my political career, it's like, wow, a politician who gets it, who gets the power of social media, gets the power of, understands the political possibilities that haven't been fully realized in social media, in this case, in Twitter. And then, of course, he went on and made masterful use of Twitter through the entire primary. He had how many opponents? Like 16 or 15. I mean, it was a very crowded primary. And I would argue that he wiped the floor with those guys pretty much by using Twitter. He was on it all the time. And at that point, the Republicans couldn't get out of their own way when it came to social media. That's all changed now. That's changed.
Yeah, they're moving fast.
Pivoting to Maine seems to me, and you tell me what you think, Bobby Charles is making the best use of social media at this point. He must be spending some real money on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the money amount. I know he's definitely spending more money than, if not all the candidates, except for probably Bush. But as for like social media presence, whatever his team's doing nailed it for sure. There's no doubt.
Yeah, that's my view as well. And John Bush I don't see him at all ever in my.
Well, that goes. I don't know if you ever saw the group that was putting out vote no on one. Mm-hmm. We don't want to vote no on one, but the group that was doing that actually made a statement and said that like halfway through of it, they said we're not doing the signs anymore. The signs are pointless to put them out there. The amount of energy, time, and money and resources it takes to put out signs on the road, and how many people you actually reach or even convey a message. What does no on one or yes on one even mean to anyone when there's no context behind it? Nothing. Right. And they even said we're not even going to offer these signs anymore, even if you want them. That's why you don't see them anywhere. They actually put out a statement. So they switched halfway through the campaign to just going digitally because you can reach way more Mainers and give them quick context. They don't want a page, but the average person can do a quick blurb like, oh, that's what it's for. Yep, I'll agree or I'll disagree. That's it. Yeah. And so, it's good. I think it's good to do both, kind of like the yes on one, where you have the sign in real life to kind of fire you up. Right. But I think you need to do both. I think the people that only do one or the other will end up losing. You have to be a Trump figure where you're dominant online and you're dominant in real life. That's how you win these battles now.
Right. And the sign campaigns, in the whole scheme of things in politics, they aren't terribly expensive. If you maybe you can spin up volunteers to help you with that. Certainly you can do it, but even if you had to pay for it, it's not.
Well, how much time and energy do you think it would take to cover Maine with signs for a statewide issue? Like how many volunteers, how much organizing, just a ball. I know it's hard but a ballpark, how many man hours would it take?
Boy, good question. I mean,
It's not the money. It's not the money part. It's the amount of people that you're wasting. What would be better, taking 50 people and have them just flood every social media site saying, vote yes on one. We want voter ID, and just like hitting everything nonstop for 1,000 hours.
Right. It's a good question. It's been so many years since I've had any direct connection to the grassroots, to the volunteer base. I don't know. I would be inclined to think nowadays that you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to hire some kids and put them in a car and offer to pay for their mileage and send them statewide, and do a budget, send them statewide, and get the signs up. Because one of the things I learned doing it with volunteers is it's organizing it is expensive.
Yeah,
organizing the sign distribution for Maine is expensive. You got to have a management layer to make it work. So party structures, maybe after the primary, the signs become something the Republicans can do, or the Democrats, right? Where you've got a party structure. But do you see that our movement has that kind of volunteer numbers to do a sign campaign?
Well, I mean, I would say that Laurel Libby's voter ID campaign did. So she has a system for it, but does the GOP in general? Probably not. She has her own specific one, which is like you go driving, you can see their sign everywhere.
Right.
All over the place. So she has one personally.
And that campaign is big money.
Yeah.
And that's the people that I organized on the gay rights issue from the early 2000s until 2006 or so, 2007. It's basically the backbone of it are the relatively small evangelical Protestant churches of Maine, and there's about there's hundreds of them. I mean, there's about 700 or 800 of them, but of the ones that are going to be active in something like this, you're talking about low hundreds of churches, but they're in every village in Maine. And she's been very successful using this dinner table thing, whatever, to raise more money than I was ever able to raise. And so she's become, and that dinner table group has become the sort of political activist wing of the religious right, the conservative religious side of Maine. And then the Christian Civic League of Maine is the sort of highbrow, lobbying, philosophical, in the mix, sort of politicking side of that. So back when I was doing it, the Christian Civic League, I was sort of playing both roles, although the Christian Coalition was very involved with the sign campaign and the whole on-the-ground activism kind of thing. So we still had two institutions that were kind of splitting up responsibilities back when I was doing it. And the same thing is happening today with the Christian Civic League of Maine and the dinner table group. Mm-hmm. The dinner table group is raising a ton of money, and the Civic League's raising a ton of money as well. In 2024, they raised almost $500,000. I never raised that kind of money.
Wow, that's good.
On my side of it. So there is a lot of money available to the traditionalists, right of center. But I don't think it's being effectively spent. we'll see. You know, the question one, fixing the ballot issue problem. For me, it's a little confused because it includes the idea of a state ID, and I haven't dug into it to see if it includes the idea of a digital ID, but if it does, that's that's problematic. But
yeah, I don't know if it includes the need for the digital ID. I honestly haven't even dived that much into it. I thought it was
Right.
just some sort of state ID, whether it was driver's license or state issued.
right, yeah. So everybody's pretty much going down the yes side if you're red, right? If you're
Yeah.
Republican, and going down the no side. I'm going to do a show with my good friend Jack McCarthy, who's a constitutionalist, and we're going to talk about some of these ID issues, real ID, and just, you know, identifying yourself issues. We're going to talk about that as it relates to question.
I mean, there is a
one.
problem with that, right? I mean, a lot of us are, you know, it's hard because we don't want to have to force ID, but then what would be the alternative to not prevent people from voting twice?
Well, yeah, my opinion is that the solution exists in technology itself, ironically,
Yeah.
and it exists in this relatively new technology called blockchain, which is becoming very popular as a database spreadsheet alternative, because it allows for an immutable timestamp to be included in what's happening with the technology, and then you pair that with public-private key cryptography, and we may be able to get to a solution for ID that is digital, that does protect and preserve and guarantee your privacy. Someone who wrote a book about that years ago is George Gilder, and he wrote the book Life After Google. So if you want to go down that rabbit hole, go get that book.
Well, you know what would solve it? If no one wanted to make it too complicated, is having same day voting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Or one. So if you could do that, how easy would it be? Okay, so if it was no absentee, for the most part, no absentee, no mail in, no early, no drop boxes, you
Right.
just voted the old fashioned way, no computers.
Yeah.
So like, what would be maybe the only way someone could cheat is if they drove to a town, then had the registration address and information of someone at another town, drove all the way down there. And so maybe you might be able to get 5 or 10, 100 people cheat at most, but you can never do the numbers in the thousands like you can now.
Right.
And you wouldn't need a voter ID.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you still need it because you'd have to show that you're who you are, right? When you come in.
No, because the thing is that it's too risky. If you have to go in front and show your face,
mm-hmm.
There's too many people that might like, oh, wait a minute, didn't I just see him here earlier? You know what I mean? So you could actually do this and not have to show ID and have it be safe and secure by saying there's no electronics. You have to go in person, walk in. Your information has to be in a database that you're a registered voter, of that town. For someone to be able to cheat, and they could, but it would take so much work to do it. You'd have to find out someone that is definitely not going to vote, that lives in a town. Do you follow me? Like, try to play it out in your head. If you did same day in person, no absentee, no drop boxes, you wouldn't need a voter. You wouldn't need an ID, because essentially for someone to actually cheat in mass scale, it would be impossible, and it would be too easy to catch them. So
I agree. I agree with you.
And not to add, and just put cameras into place, right? And so you could actually run an AI that goes, oh, do you see a duplicate person going to a location? Then you actually could, like you just said, just use AI, like, oh, is there a duplication between this person going into South Portland going up to Lisbon, right? They would instantly detect it. And there'd be no way to cheat at that point. That's all you would have to do. And then
I do.
Be happy.
Yeah, I love the idea of cameras in voting booths.
Yeah.
I love the idea of cameras pointed at all public officials.
Yeah. And schools.
And schools, public school teachers. What's going on in classrooms? We're thinking that the cameras. We want to point the cameras in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So that the entire population is surveilled 24/7. That's not use we should not use cameras for that.
No.
We should use cameras to make public officials accountable, for sure. And that's why I don't support taking this mobile smartphones away from the kids, especially in high school. That's the only thing they've got now that's giving them a different side of the issue, because especially main schools are just full now of propaganda, lies. And
how do you feel when you hear a parent go, they're indoctrinating our kids in the schools, and then the next day they go, finally they're taking away the cell phones from the kids so that they can pay more attention to their class? And you go, are you even hearing yourself? Do you not think?
Right. People they aren't thinking. They aren't being reasonable.
No.
And one of the things that's happening right now is this whole CSAM controversy is being manipulated to get everybody. That's the child sexual abuse of minors, CSAM. It's being spun up both right and left to get everyone to buy into the universal digital ID in order to travel or transact or anything else. And that is so bad, so evil. That's going to obliterate our humanity if we go there. What we ought to be talking about, Richard, I think, what do you think of this? What we ought to be talking about is how important it is for the government, Maine's state government, to secure and guarantee the availability of cash to every Maine citizen forever, so that they can transact value privately.
Yeah.
With businesses or whatever. So the government, that's what we should be talking about. And the other thing we should be talking about is the state of Maine should secure for all of its citizens the right of a citizen not to be on the internet and not to have a computer and not to use a phone.
Yeah.
If they don't want to.
You can't, when you go to Europe, some spots. So I did a quick road trip through Norway and Sweden, and I don't own a cell phone. My wife does. I wouldn't have been able to access a lot of services without her cell phone. We're talking parking garages, getting charging the vehicle, trying to eat at restaurants. They even had warnings saying that this restaurant requires a cell phone to eat at. That's what's going to be coming for sure.
Right, but it can't come, right? What I'm saying is what the future has. I've got grandchildren. I got 8 grandchildren. I will die on this hill. Yeah. Why aren't the politicians saying what I just said?
Because they don't even know anything. They're not even. The problem is, it's the same reason why when I go online, I have to spend a lot of time teaching people how to even take a screenshot of what they want to take a screenshot of. And I don't want to pick on them too much, but my generation and then older failed to learn anything about the internet, even though it's been here. Like, they know it's Facebook. They know how to click on YouTube videos, but the amount of skills and technology that's out there, they've not even taught themselves even very basics. So what's happening is that all this technology is moving forward. They don't even have the ground idea of even what's going on. Like, when you talk about the internet, I think you brought it up being like a neural network, or that the internet's not real. It's just like a telepathic node between all of us. And the voter ID, or not voter ID, the digital ID prevents us from communicating without having to show, so if you can picture, I can travel to you and you're in Hong Kong. I can travel to you and talk to you telepathically, essentially, with the internet.
Right.
Having the digital ID could block our conversation. So it's blocking my telepathic ability to travel on the internet. That's what the digital ID will do. And I don't mean actual real telepathy, but the internet essentially gave us telepathy. Right. Humankind gained that overnight. And that's all the internet is. There's nothing real about the internet except for information transfer. Right.
I've argued from the beginning of the internet publicly. I kind of wish I always look back at my career, and I always feel I live with this sort of constant guilt. Like, I should have written a book about that, or I should have written I should have been figured out a way to create an immense X account, Twitter account, or Facebook account along the way for these ideas. I feel a little bit guilty about that. But way back at the beginning, I said, look, the internet is a tool. It's no different than a wheel. When the wheel first appeared, everybody was whatever. Maybe the wheel's not the best idea. Maybe if we think about the car, right? Everybody was invested in horse and buggy, and there was infrastructure for the horse nationwide. All of a sudden, this automobile appears, and you've got this tremendous controversy that lasts decades about whether we should do this or not. And it's evil, and it's the end of the world. It becomes apocalyptic. It's very. And I said at the beginning of the internet, I said, this is technology. That's all it is. It's invented by human beings. We will form an etiquette over time. Rules will be established. I think one of the reasons the rules aren't being established as quickly as they need to be established is because our political leadership is failing us so badly. What I'm saying needs to be out there, and everybody needs to be discussing it. And I think
no one does.
Right, but I think I think it's starting though.
It is.
Yeah.
It's I want to add something to this real quick. I never thought in a million years that because you're kind of like a Christian leader, a faith leader, that a lot of my perception of the internet changed after conversations with you, and they have not changed so dramatically with any other person I've ever spoken to. I'll let you keep going, but you had brought this up, and the way I stepped back and started looking at the internet, I was like, oh, this is not how I was perceiving it. When I was younger, I fell into the trap of you almost feel like it's real. Like there's a realness to it, but there's not. There's a lot of power behind it, but what the internet is not the same as the material world at all, and how it operates.
Well, I'm sorry to repeat myself to you, but that's a privilege of being 64. We get to repeat ourselves, and people younger get to, have to receive it and be kind. So thank you. I probably said what I just said to you before. But what I've learned from you is that as you've, as you're maturing with respect to politics vis-a-vis the internet, the kind of skills that you've developed and that you're using, that you're employing politically, like, for example, calling and representing yourself as whatever, calling a DSA type church or whatever, what does that stand for? Socialist of America, Democratic Socialist of America. Any left-wing target of yours, you call them, you record it, you record the audio, you represent yourself as whatever, and then you release it on social media. And that's a great tactic. It's proven very effective.
Yeah, it's just it's our way of bypassing what the media would filter for us, because like the internet is just a way for me to convey a message to more people. And and the problem is that if you become too big and you become too national, your message. Oh, Morgan, can you get me up? Sorry, I'm having to refill my coffee. I didn't want to get up, but it's interesting with how to utilize the internet because the problem with like X is that X is national. It's not really statewide. And like, so what's happened is that you have social media companies, and they've carved out rules on how you're going to transmit information. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. They'll just go through and they'll just throw stuff out exactly the same way, and it doesn't work. So like Facebook is localized, right? When you say that, like generally, like a lot of like national stuff doesn't do well on there. When you go on X, that's more national, and local stuff doesn't do as well there. Then YouTube's a whole different animal. YouTube is horrible for local stuff. Right. No one wants. If you're local based or a Christian based or anything, you'll never ever get even an inch, unless if you're a massive state, Massachusetts. But if you're localized Maine and Christian, like kind of like all the stuff that you hit, you will be guaranteed to never go above 25 views. You can't, because the platform is not made for that ever at all.
And you've got the algorithmic issues too. They're tagging you for controversial whatever. But Tim is watching, the True Slinger, so he's
get him up here. Does he want to come up?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to come on, Tim? I can shoot you a link if you want to. Maybe he'll.
I'm still waking up. I look a little groggy.
Yeah, Tim's been taking off. He's taken a couple weeks off from live streaming, so I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't want to do it. But there's a guy who I learn stuff from Tim every single day. He's been under such fire at a personal level from someone who I prefer not to name, who I have a relationship with in the past. Tim says he looks like hell, so we'll let him just comment from the peanut gallery, I guess. But he has been put under such persecution. He and Jen, his wife, beyond just the troll who's been so effective against him at both a political level and a personal level. And he's managed in this year, Richard, he has managed to convert all of that horror that's been spun up for him into a level of effectiveness that is crazy. I mean, he goes to that Lincoln school board thing, and it goes viral, internationally viral.
Yeah, that's huge.
And like Corn Pop, he just went viral for being arrested.
So when it comes to real quick, to not derail, but to address like dealing with like online trolls, there's a term called the insanity boomer spiral. Mm-hmm. And what that is, it's two boomer, and no one's really created a full term for it, but everyone's witnessed it on Facebook, other places. You'll have two people that are usually of older generation, right? And they'll start fighting on Facebook or on social media, and they can't stop because you have this internal mechanism to make it feel like it's the real world, right? But your brain isn't telling you that it's not the real world. Like if you and I, Mike, we start fighting online nonstop, we can't actually achieve anything. Because we can't eventually end to blows where we fight each other or sit there and debate. So what it becomes is an insanity spiral where nobody can win. Yeah. And so if you can trap your opponent in an insanity spiral and just keep mocking them, and they can't break out of that and stop and disengage, you can destroy them. And that's what the troll does. So what they do is they utilize, and it works effectively on older people because their perception of the internet is different than what it is for millennials. And then as you go down, so like millennial generation, I believe, has the best perception of what the internet is. The younger and the older generation look at the internet as too real. And so you'll see this on Facebook. You'll have two people start fighting. It'll be maybe an auntie and another auntie. And they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And nobody wins. And eventually everyone just goes, can you two shut up and stop talking about it? All you're doing is wasting, and their ego gets hurt too much, both of them. And so what happens is that everyone gets so burnt out, and everyone will stop following. They leave. And those two, the insanity spiral happens where they don't stop fighting. It'll be month after month after month, and now everyone's checked out, and they're like, well, you believe this, well, you believe that, and they're still fighting on the internet. And they don't realize that the neural network, you can't win on the internet. There's no way for me to exert force through the internet to defeat a Michael Heath. Even if all my buddies get behind me and they go, yeah, Mike Heath, you're a dumbass, and all my buddies parrot that, you can just go, okay, well, I'm going to keep attacking you. You can't defeat a troll on the internet. They're invincible.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Well,
I think Tim is going to come in here. Hopefully he's still listening. He's here. All right, I'm going to bring him in. So Tim, did you hear Richard's point? Oops, your audio's not working. Can you hear me?
I think his audio is not working.
Yeah. You got audio testing? Not hearing you. Okay, he's fixing his technicals. Go start the generator, man. I can't believe this guy live streams using a generator. When I first heard that a year ago, I was like, what? That's crazy. He lives in he's from what, Kentucky or Tennessee or something. There he is. So you got the generator fired up. That's good.
I got to echo. Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
You got us?
Am I echoing? I don't know.
No, you're good now.
Yeah.
You're good now.
All right, good. Good morning.
Good morning, man. Thanks for
I was listening to everything. It is.
Now it's echoing. It wasn't when you first started.
Okay, we're having technical issues, so be patient out there. Be patient. You've got us live. This ain't AI, I promise. We're not fake. Richard's in Hollowell. Tim is stuck in the middle of the Maine woods because he chased after the dream of Maine from Kentucky or Tennessee or something, and so drug his wife out in the middle of nowhere and got a generator, and he disappeared. He'll be back.
Yeah. Jinx.
I want to hear him speak to the insanity spiral point because he's of course had to. I'm sure you and he have talked about it, and he's been forced to have to deal with that with this troll.
And the thing is, I hate to isolate him on it because I've seen it happen to so many. So during COVID, the same thing would happen. We'd have our Facebook pages, and you get a troll that comes online. They create an anonymous account that generally was anonymous, and they would just start they would find someone that would just enter that insanity spiral. And it's usually like a younger guy would start trolling a 50-year-old woman, and she couldn't handle it. She just could. Their brains would literally break because they would just keep going at them, and their perception is, I have to keep defending myself. I have to keep defending myself. I have to keep defending myself. Their ego would send them down an insanity spiral. We witnessed this over and over again, and then eventually you just have to cut the person off and go, because it's like at a certain point, 5-6 months of just addressing an online troll, you're just wasting everyone's time at that point.
So we got you. We see you.
Yeah. You can hear me now, and okay, I got my thing fixed. So sorry about the.
How's Jen doing? How's Jen doing this morning?
Well, amazing. She's miraculously better. I went in the following day, and she just was completely lucid. And so we're all sitting around trying to figure it out because it wasn't a UTI or anything. So I had no idea what it was, and maybe it was a spiritual attack. Who knows?
So you heard Richard. So you. Yeah. I mean.
Personal experience with this, right?
Yeah, like I said, I learned something from you every single day about being on social media. You're one of the only people I know who I follow who I consider to be truly social on media.
Wait, are you talking to Tim or me?
Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only of all the people. And I've been doing this for 40 years. I've met a lot of people, and I'm online all the time, and I'm social media-ing more than I ever have before over the last year. But you made a decision, Tim, a year and a half ago or so, to live really out loud in terms of your personal life on X.
Yeah.
And talk about. So address this point about an insanity spiral that Richard's making, because you must get that thrown at you all the time, given what's happened over the past year.
Well, I've been in it for 9 months, right? And
9 months.
At times I've realized it and understood that that it was necessary to disengage, but there was just something that told me this isn't simply an internet troll, which is part of the problem. Okay, we're not dealing with just someone that's in an anonymity floating around on the internet. We're dealing with somebody that shows up to events. We're dealing with somebody that makes physical contact in the real world. So it's a little different, but I understand the concept, the idea of it, and what's interesting is that the way. As yes, I've been attacked a lot, right? And I'm not feeling sorry for myself. It just is because I just didn't know the form that the attacks would come in if I seriously started going in a direction that was good, right, noble, pure, and true. And so the resistance has been unexpected, from family members and, this, like I said, this troll that manifested itself in my life by actually contacting a family member and getting them involved. Complicated things. And so, I've had to deal with a lot of anger, frustration. Plus, I'm bringing in I guess, a brand of confrontative Christianity that would be best described to the one out there as tough love. That's
Well,
had
yeah,
to say
I would use the word that you're giving us all a masterclass on. You are using your own personality and your own environment and your wife and your house and your generator and your nightmares with the people that you try to help when you let them come and live on your, in the woods with you. You're turning it all into a polemic, a classic polemic. That's what you're doing. You're turning it into an effective polemic, which
I think I am, and I'm not at times, because to point to Richard's point, okay, like yesterday, I mean, because Richard and I talked about this, okay, I have seemed to have alienated about 95% of people, okay, with my style and my rhetoric and my polemic, okay, but at one time or another, I mean, I am going by a guide of, is it true or is it not true? Is it, I mean, I'm sorry. We live in a day and age where I personally am done. You lie to me, okay, or you exhibit cowardly behavior, I have no problem calling that out. The rest of your character may be fine and sterling, okay, but this is a day and age of the rising of the church, and church discipline says that you go to people and you go and you bring their sin to them, and then if they don't listen, you take 2 or 3 others, and then at that point, right, it's on. You're out. You are not part of my club. I'm not interested in having you be around me or this, that, or the other thing, except for the standpoint of maybe at some point you might hear the gospel and your heart would be converted and change to something new. And then we got something new to talk about.
Here's my opinion, and I follow you very closely, and I've watched all the last 2 weeks of angst over Jen's health crisis and your collapse into deep despair, and that's how I would describe it. I watched the whole thing. I watched the rant, and then all the recent rants, and what you're dealing with, I think, is the F-bomb crowd, the Christians who just have this irrational allergy to the F-bomb and to swearing in general. And for the last couple of weeks, I mean, especially the last few days, you've been letting it rip, every other word's enough. Like a salty sailor, a Marine or something. And you're going to survive this, though. Those 90% that have abandoned you or that are whining about it or whatever, they're going to come back to you. What you're representing to Maine people, and every single day the internet comes on, and every single day you come back on the internet, my opinion, you are charting a course forward for Maine men who are angry and don't know how to express themselves, especially Christian Maine men who hunt.
If you tell me those people don't say that shit in private, they're full of crap.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you see, it's all, to me, it's all of a piece. You decided to live large on the internet and let everybody see into your log cabin and see the suffering of your wife and the most personal details of your life, and you're still doing the same thing. You're showing up every day, and that's what you're doing. And as long as you keep doing that, this troll isn't going to defeat you. The abandonment of these people isn't going to defeat you. You're just going to get new people. They're going to get better and better and better. They're going to be more and more masculine.
Yeah,
they're going to be more and more masculine. They're going to be more and more. They're going to be more and more angry. They're going to be looking for a voice like yours, who's going to lead them into the battle.
That's the hope. And I mean, to Richard's point, the internet is not real, right? First of all, the people that have thrown dog shit on my shoes, if you don't think they're watching, okay, all those people, nobody's freaking going away. And this other stuff, this about oxygen. Okay, at some point there is a time to pinch it off, right?
Yeah.
And I think at this point, clearly, these people that have been engaging me, trying to drag me down, quite understandable why they're doing so. Yeah, it's time. They're unimportant.
The oxygen part of it goes both ways. Like, I think the majority of people that are actually working on stuff have just tuned out the whole drama queen stuff, and we've been just moving forward, working on things. We're like, this has been the biggest waste of our time, right? And we've ignored it. We've been ignoring it for about 5 months now. It's like all of it. Like, you'll go on real quick and be like, nah, that's a waste of my time. I got work to do. We have a battle to win. I don't care about the little silly squabbles. Like, it's literally, I don't even know 99% of the people that respond to Tim. Why do I care? Right. We know Michael Chihain, who's kicked out, all the other ones.
Well, and I mean, I hate to be a jerk about it, okay, but I was talking to somebody last night and I said, blah, 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 blah. And they uttered somebody's name and they said, who's that?
Yeah, no one knows who's
that? Are. And I'm like, well, he's the head of an organization.
No, but the thing is like,
who cares? You're right, okay? And I'm starting to get it, but listen, this is very new to me, okay? Listen, 2 years is nothing, especially 9 months, right? I am not, and if it's true that there are other deeper levels involved than simply a troll, okay?
Sure
and then psyops, they work. They're psyops for a reason. And so I'm trying to cut myself a little bit of slack. And all I'm asking for is, for God's sakes, look, this last thing yesterday, you know, personal squabble, whatever. Okay. When somebody makes an intimation, they have a DM that you've been doing something inappropriate with children that are under the age, and my life's work is culminating here at school boards. Okay. There is no room for truth and falsehood, right? I saw no choice, and I'm like going, oh, Lord Almighty, what am I doing? I'm going to like burn down the last alliance I might have. But there was no boldness over the last 9 months. No loyalty, no benefit of the doubt. So finally I said, at this point, look, how many years do I have left? How much time do we have left before a primary? How much time do we have left before we have new people in office? Okay. Time is too short to be screwing around with relationships that I cannot rely upon. Okay.
So let me explain that. But with the insanity spiral, what we saw during COVID is that generally older people would get into this insanity spiral, and then they would go, wait, no one's getting my back. And it's not because people didn't have their back. It's because they realized that it was the internet and it was just a waste of time.
Right.
And if you're going to drag everyone else into this fight that makes no sense, that's online.
Yeah.
And what would happen is that individual would start getting then mad. They would turn their anger, and this happened to Nick, by the way.
They become bitter.
They become bitter, and they turn it towards all their friends, and they go, because it's not the real life. This isn't like we're in the streets and someone's trying to fight you and all your friends are backing off. It's just that most people have the intellect to understand that this is a waste of time and it achieves nothing. So what happens is suddenly they start turning on other people, and they go, these other people come to them and say, well, maybe you're kind of wasting your time. What are you doing? And they go, fuck you for not having my back, you asshole. I don't need you. I don't need you. No, but then you start hitting everyone. And I've seen this happen. We just call it the boomer insanity spiral. And then what they do is they eventually spiral everyone off their orbit. And half the people aren't even mad at them. They just look at them and go, they can't handle the internet. Move on. We just trudge forward.
Right.
If you're going to spend 9 months on one person and spend 99% of your time just responding to trolls, you cannot handle the internet.
Right.
You're ineffective. So the problem is that when we look at like Tim now versus Tim when I first met him, you're an entirely different animal. You don't even do work anymore. You don't do your show. You don't do videos. You spend 99% of your time dealing with trolls. The Tim I first knew, you were doing interviews. You're doing podcasts. You're doing videos. All these doors are opening up, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, this guy's pretty awesome. Awesome voice, super intelligent, knows his Christian stuff. If you compare Tim to then, 9 months ago, to Tim now, entirely different person. There's nothing left. What is this? You don't have a show anymore. You don't do interviews anymore. You don't do anything. All you do is just go online and just talk about random people and trolls. That's 99% of it. That's what it is.
That's not fair, and that kind of pissed me off, Richard.
Okay, well, if I'm wrong, what was it?
Well, the fact that I don't do
Well, I shouldn't say you don't. I shouldn't say you don't.
the content is different. The content is different.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you think that my entire channel is about fighting with trolls, then you're too busy, and you haven't.
That might be what it is.
Now, no doubt the flavor has changed, without question. And I think to some degree, this is a necessary thing, and to some degree, it hurt. Now, what did it hurt me from the standpoint of, if I had an expectation of what I wanted to achieve in the end, then yeah, it might have hurt me, right? But I don't even know what that is. See, that's the thing. I do not know what I am trying to achieve. I do not know the number of people that I want following me. I do not know what my ultimate end and goal is, except to be salt and light. Now, I agree that I think there are things that I want to achieve. And so looking at things and changing course and understanding the spiral and these things from an intellectual standpoint, of course. And what I'm not really too concerned about is, like I said, I'm going to be here. Okay. I'm not going to wander off somewhere, because I'm going to deal with every single thing that comes along my way, because I'm meant to be here, meant to be whatever it is this has turned out to be. And I'm a work in progress, and I just don't have a problem being out there as a work in progress. And maybe this was all to demonstrate okay, the way all this works to people that didn't understand.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just don't.
I actually think it's good that everyone saw it.
Yeah, I was drawn deep into it with Tim, because the troll, whose name we have managed not to mention, and I hope we don't mention his name, is directly connected to me, professionally and personally. And so I've almost felt a duty to pick a side. And one of the reasons is because I was asked at the beginning of this 9 months, personally by the troll, to pick a side.
Oh yeah, he's been doing it to everyone. He's contact, but that's the problem about it's tough, because was there a good outcome? Michael G. Hine can't go to events now without being attacked. Like, that was the ultimate thing, was that Tim did pretty much burn off Michael G. Hine. He can't go anywhere without being attacked. It just happened the other day. He's at voter ID thing. People already confronted him. That was definitely a net benefit.
Yeah.
And it took political cap. I burned a lot of political capital to do it. I said in the beginning it was going to cost me a lot of political capital. It was going to cost me a bunch of shit, because of I wasn't unaware of the phenomenon that you've been talking about. Just trying to figure out, when is it time to put the lid on that bottle? And it's done.
Yeah, well, and in my opinion, I followed it closely for the 9 months. The thing that would have made a difference for you, because it became so layered and so complicated, it became legal in 2 states. It became legal in Maine. It became legal in Colorado. It involved an estranged daughter. It was so multiple layered. The attack was so layered that what you needed was the kind of power that comes from money or institutional connections. And you didn't have either. You didn't have money, and you didn't have.
And I'm dealing with a sick wife all the way along. And like I said, I'm not trying to play the victim here. I'm just trying to lay it out the way it happened. And I don't think people really understand the psychological pressure comes when you're getting mail, glitter bombs in the mail. When you live in the middle of the woods and you cancel going to an event because you're not certain that the person isn't going to show up at your house, and you're in the middle of the woods and everything's shut off with no security. Right. So these things were all playing on my mind during the soup of everything that's been going on. And again, to the point, Richard, somehow I managed to finish a book because of the douchebags trolls, okay, that pressed me in order to do it. Now,
you showed up at Lincoln in the real world. You've been showing up in the real world, as well as doing your show.
My activism is different, and the use of social media has been different. Is it the most effective? No, I think that I needed to step back a bit and look at it, because I realized some things yesterday, and still not that I would have done a damn thing different up to now, mind you. but I understand it.
From a Christian perspective, and this is there any did you sin in any way during those in the past months? Like, what was your worst sin?
Well, yeah,
I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were a couple of times. Clearly, there was a point at which it went to my head, my ego. I got like power drunk and punch drunk for a minute, right? Like right after the damn
The insanity spiral.
The whole going viral, right?
Yeah, it's the opposite, right, of the troll. The insanity spiral goes up and down. It does. It does. It literally goes. You believe the internet is real.
Yeah. Right. And so yeah. So there was that. Okay. And yeah, I think I engaged a little too much in this world where just some combat for the sake of combat. Right. And that happens because that's the way I'm wired. Right. I am a confrontational person. I have no problem with confrontation. And so yeah, there I did. And then of course, last time we talked, I apologized to Chuck and I apologized to Bobby Charles. And so, the way I gauge things, okay, is when I am wrong, I try to admit that I am wrong, that I should not have done something. And I posted about it yesterday too. You bring it to my attention, I will consider it. I will pray on it. Or if immediately I realize I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong. That is one thing I hope everybody in the end sees through all of this demonstrated before I die, is that I'm going to go out there, I'm going to knock against things, and sometimes I might get it wrong. But I think I get it right a lot more than I get it wrong. And I think right now my biggest focus, sin-wise, is the passage in Corinthians, and I think it's talks about love, being patient, kind, all of these things, this list of what love is. And I'm spending some time trying to go down and meditate about that, right? To see, have I been loving in all regards, right? And so the answer is probably not. No. I've lashed out in personal anger rather than anger for the righteousness of God or his offense. I have probably, I mean, I told you about the fact that it went to my head, and when it's about me and it's not about God and God's glory. But I want everybody to be very careful with this. Okay. Is that if I believe God has his hand on me and in my life, right? Not that doesn't make me infallible, but I believe that if I submit to the will of God as closely as I can and be as Christ-like as I possibly can be, right? Then I am, and I serve a great and mighty God. Then you can turn that into narcissistic behavior. Any way you want. You can turn that around on me and say, he hasn't changed at all. He's an egotistical SOB. When indeed, I just believe in the God that breathed out the universe and told the seas where to stop and the mountains how high to raise. And we, as a human being, say no when he tells us what to do or asks us what to do. So, and I bring that righteous indignation of God onto the internet and into this world and into the school boards. And that's just going to look a certain way. And that's not sin. So, but yes, I struggle. Of course I struggle. I mean, I struggle with the fact that at one point in time or another, someone else in the movement as a team is out in the front in the spotlight. Right. But I realize that it's important to lift others up and important to build the team, because this isn't about any of us. Right. That is the flesh. That's the part that I struggle with. Of course, I struggle with it. But it also takes a certain personality type to have the stones to do some of the things that I do. Yeah. So there you go.
Any thoughts on that, Richard?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's hard. I guess from the ego part of it, I guess the reason that people would think that maybe it feels a bit ego, just because the focus is so centered on you. So like whether it's, like people joke that like we should just buy Tim a mirror, right? Like we've never. So like you have internet accounts. I've just never seen someone post so many pictures of themselves more than any other human being that's on X, right? Like I don't think you could find someone. And then if you like read like letters and stuff, it's like I. It's like, whoa, holy shit, this person just really all just talking about themselves nonstop, and then trying to parse that. And then like I think I started reading like the preview of your book, and maybe I didn't get very far, but the beginning part was just I.
I wrote the damn book.
No, but it just
come on, man.
No. I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I'm just saying the reason people take it off as being an ego thing is that when you look at your channel, so like on the internet, you can have a page, and it can be about a movement, it can be about an individual. Like a lot of the kids and a lot of the boomers, they have Hollywood syndrome, so they are the hero quest, right? They're in the hero quest, so it becomes this all encompassing. And I don't want to pick on a person running for governor right now. I'm not going to name them, but they literally have Braveheart plastered in the back of their. And I didn't know that, and I actually said that person has a bit of Hollywood syndrome. The type of people that look at like Patriot and Braveheart and go, yeah. The same ones that charge the Capitol because they're brainwashed. No. I'm not picking on you right now.
I live in a movie in my freaking head.
And this is not a jab at you. It's a jab at your generation, because you guys have been so programmed by Hollywood that I know exactly what phrases you're going to use. I know what imagery you're going to use, and so like during January 6th, you see people painting their face like Braveheart, and then they're charging the Capitol, and you're going, what do you guys think? That you're just going to occupy the Capitol and suddenly you win? Like they had Hollywood syndrome. There's nothing real about it. Everything that was programmed in their head was actually controlled digitally. And so I think the problem is that what goes against you also helps you. So like one thing about you is that you'll say things very fiery and spicy, a lot of like Hollywood language and a lot of like theatrics and acting, and other people take it away as real. And I'm going, no, it's just the way that Tim talks. He like this guy has probably watched more movies than anyone I know, right? Like, you're a huge movie guy. I think you told me before.
I do enjoy movies, and I do enjoy music. Yes.
And so I would say for theatrics, you are hands down the best entertaining. You're the most entertaining person I've ever met in my entire life when it comes to like being able to act, speak. There's no doubt in my mind. But the problem is that other people see you online and what you're writing, and they're going, he actually believes all these things that he's saying. And for me, I'm like, oh, no, I'm just being spicy language. It's just colorful stuff. A lot of these lines I've heard in every other movie. It's just like kind of like the cliche lines going through. And you're kind of creating like this cult of personality of like, it's me, Tim, it's me, Tim, it's me, Tim, it's me, Tim. And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just as long as the people watching you understand that and the person doing it understands that.
Well,
because
look. And it's not about me. It's about discipleship. Okay. If you see what I've always been trying to do is to generate an army of people.
Yeah. And you as a leader.
I mean, it's like, what good am I just a puppet out there, being a retard for clicks?
I don't think that you're being a retard. I think that you're just being I think that there's a 50% of an actor in you, which is really good. Remember when I used to say
I'm a writer, I'm an artist, I'm a poet.
Yeah. Well,
I remember
what did I tell you?
Hell, I mean,
the gestures, and this term is going to make people think it's something that's not, but the gestures dance, right? You and Nick do the gestures dance. And what does that mean? That means you can mock your opponents. You literally get this close to the king. The gestures dance is when someone's able to entertain everyone and get really close to the king while simultaneously mocking the king by being the king. You're doing this weird dance that no one else can do. And Nick does the same thing. And what it is, it's not, you're not becoming a leader that people are going to lead you into battle. No one would actually follow Nick into battle, right? No one would follow you into battle. You guys don't have any military training. They wouldn't follow me into battle. You are doing the theatrics beginning stages of a revolutionary movement, which is to awaken the people. And you're doing the gestures dance. You're going right up to Martha, right? That's the queen in this situation. You go to the school board, or you're going to another school board, or you're confronting these people, and you're putting on this charade, and it's brilliant, and it mocks the enemy. They used to use gestures to mock the king back in medieval times because you couldn't do it directly.
Great
And
point.
yeah, and we call it the jester's dance. And you get, but the problem is the jester is so close to the king that sometimes the problem is they think they are the king, right? Because you're playing the role so much, so you have to help the person realize, listen, you're super skilled, super talented, super know all this stuff, but you can't let it become the embodiment. So like, let's just say something crazy happened and we ended up in civil strife. Everything that we're doing right now looks entirely different. No one's going to look at Nick and go, that's a battle leader. I'm going to have him put on his war paint and we're going to charge the enemies. People are going to look at him and go, this guy doesn't know how to shoot for shit, doesn't know military tactics, doesn't know how to do a single thing. He's literally going to be at the very bottom of the hierarchy while everything else gets replaced immediately with force doctrine. We are all just in this intermediate phase where we're transitioning from theatrics and fun, right, to mock the enemy and allow. We're the alerters. We're just the press. We're just letting people in the society know what's going on. And so you have to make sure you don't get disillusioned by that. And a lot of people do. The part of the boomer insanity spiral is only you become, just because people are following you doesn't mean they're following you because they think you're a leader. They're following you because they think your information is entertaining and important, right? They're not looking at you as leading any sort of battle or in any other meaningful way. And it's hard to swallow that pill, but that is literally the reality of it. We're all playing.
The other interesting thing is I've got a theme, right? Make war, right?
Let me jump in. Great point, Richard. Go ahead, Tim.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump all over you, but it's a spiritual battle we're in. There's spiritual warfare going on here. And what's interesting is if you read the book, okay, you better stick along with the I, because the whole book goes into taking a person into the I and my relationship with God and where do I stand in relationship to a thrice high and holy God. And it's all about personal warfare inward, because if we achieve the goals inward that God would have us do, we will be outwardly the people we need to be proper salt and light to the earth. So, even the terminology, okay, is all about something that is real, but indeed it's not kinetic. And we've been trying to keep it from going kinetic. I mean, this kind of stuff comes up too. We haven't even touched on that.
Well, if it's kinetic, you disappear immediately. We all disappear immediately if it turns kinetic. We have no role in that realm. Like some of us that are a little bit younger, maybe, but you literally disappear from the face of Earth.
I don't know. I'll probably be Tokyo Rose or something like that.
Anyway, literally, you disappear. And I don't want to be mean, but 90% of people in our movement disappear because they're not physically fit, or they're too old, or they have no idea how to do anything beyond that. Right? That's so we go through phases. The next phase, probably 95% of people that follow us, if that ever goes there, disappears. They will never be talked about in history. They're the unsung heroes, right? That transitional phase from civil strife to actually civil war, you don't hear about the people that were kind of alerting people, telling them, hey, this is what's happening. You do. There's a couple in World War II that you can hear that like historians that are people back then.
There's a few prophets from the Old Testament might have been wrote down.
Yes, yeah, so you're right. So there'll be a few people that will make a blip on the radar, but if something big ever happened, everything that we do is gone, right? You're literally with people trying to get out of the area, or you're just trying to survive at that point. And
right. Politics is war without bullets. That's one way to look at it. Yeah. And then something that I learned back before the internet about what we've been talking about here is that if you've got two people in your backyard and they're fighting, do you go out there and interject yourself into the middle and try to sort it out, or you just throw both of them out? And to your point earlier, Richard, about the spiral, the downward spiral.
Yeah, that one's hard because remember let's rephrase it. You have two people that are real, right? So they don't have physical forms in your yard fighting. You can't physically stop any of them, and they can't physically stop each other. But you do have the ability to turn them off and make them disappear. Yeah. And they're fighting for hour after hour after hour in your yard. Everyone can hear it. You can't sleep. They're still going for it, right? And they're swinging at each other, but it goes right through, right? There's nothing that happens. And the next morning they're doing it. The next morning they're doing it. And the next morning they're doing it. And then eventually you can't physically, even if you wanted to side with your friend, you can't stop the other person. You can get 1,000 people and yell at that one ethereal person, but they can go through. There's no physical body, and that's what the internet is. And eventually, you just turn it off. That's the only way to do it. But the problem is what Tim said is that this one is both ethereal and physical, because it's not like the person doesn't show up to events and stuff and physically go after people and other things. So there's a need to stop that. So that
I mean, look, he's a little bit different.
Yeah.
He is a little bit different because I can list you other ones, right, who I've had spats with and I've understood what was happening and I broke off, right? And this is the one that has been successful in holding my attention. And again, when you insert it into my life with the deputy knocking on my door, right, that's not quite just an internet troll anymore. So,
but if you look at like any like the famous podcasters or leaders or anything, you never see this drama aspect play out in the world. And why? Because people look at it and they go, the person's just too filled with drama. They fight with everyone around them. They might be nice people, they have a good heart, but they're just gonna be toxic and cause some. They don't create a cohesive unity community, right? So they're super talented, super skilled. They just can't get along with people. That's just the flaw, right? And so that type of person can be used as like a weaponized tool to go after your enemies, but to actually help build a community and an actual army, the person doesn't fit. And eventually, and you see this with really good people, like, and you just go. Literally, if your goal is to actually gather a whole group of people to push back about something, and there's one person, even though you like them a lot, and all they're doing is just causing everyone to drive away, well, that person's diametrically opposed to what you're trying to do, right?
Yep.
If you're causing all these people to flee and leave and go in different directions, yeah, you can go under the guise of like, hey, at least I'm teaching them Christ. But are you? Like, I don't see anyone going to Christ through any of this stuff. I think that the things that you say aren't wrong. I think that the delivery is incorrect. Maybe, right? Like it's not resonating. But there are parts that are resonating. So like the Overton window with Tim opening that window has actually been extremely useful and helped us. The biggest issue before was like someone like Nick would go do something and everyone would jump and pile on him. Tim's actually made it so that Nick seems like the moderate one now, which is good. We needed to get to that point. So that's why I'm not going to go online and attack Tim for anything, because everything that Tim's doing has actually helped the movement as a net positive. It's helped us get to a further point. But then what do you do with someone that fights with everyone that's in the group? I don't know. What do you do?
Well, I mean, I think the word that comes to mind is there is a big narrowing, okay, right now, as far as what it is that I don't deal in numbers, Richard. I came from the evangelical community where we threw people in the baptismal, got them wet and called them saved, and then hoped that they would come to church maybe once a week and sit there and pay attention long enough before the damn buffet, racing the people down, the Methodists down to the frickin' buffet. Mm-hmm. So, numbers mean nothing to me. The Southern Baptist Convention collected lots of numbers for political power. It wasn't shit, okay? What we had was a bunch of goats that were sitting in church, and an inactive church, and feckless. I am not concerned about Christians. There are certain voices that are going to hear me in whatever angry state this has been delivered in. Okay.
This is where you and Mike Heath kind of actually align, and because I think you guys intersect really well on this, is that both of you are like, fuck the world. They didn't listen to me. They're wrong. Even if you're right? You're like, fuck it. I'm going to go do my own thing. They don't understand me. But maybe what it is just that the delivery is incorrect, because I don't think that you guys, like Mike Heath was never wrong about the positions he was in the past. He just wasn't able to convince anyone that he was right.
Again, but the question becomes delivery, right? Of course. Yeah. And what am I trying to achieve, right? Is it a best-selling book, or is it to reach a certain number? I mean, look, I've had people already reading the book. Okay. So I have achieved my goal. There is a hard copy of my book floating out in the world. Now, what God wants to do with that, I'm not quite sure. Okay. I'm going to try and market it. I'm going to try and let people know it's there. But at this point, look, I've already got 9 months worth of baggage. You got to just decide that this book was honestly written, and I'm going to read it from cover to cover because I'm interested in seeing what he produced or not. And, again, the numbers don't matter. It's the quality. If there is one person, if I drop dead tomorrow and somebody woke up tomorrow, like for example, Sean McGriarty, right, and took up the mantle that I was doing, right, then that's good enough for me. I don't care. Now, again, should I care for, what is God trying to achieve? I've spent a lot of time thinking Jesus drove a lot of people away. Okay, I wrote a whole article on it, and I know that you're so busy and you read very much and you've been tickling with this Christianity thing, but you need to, at some point, if you're going to understand me, Richard, you're going to need to have to read the New Testament.
Well, and granted, I'll give that to you. I only have echoes of our cultural memory of Christianity, right? So I'd never go. But to me, and I could be wrong, but when you look at like what Christ was doing, yeah, he was driving people away, but he was actually getting a following. I see you driving everyone away and getting no following.
Okay.
And so, yeah. What were you saying?
No, one thing that Tim illustrates for all Maine people as we transition to the point where we actually do use the internet to be social, to be human with one another. We're not there yet, but one of the things that Tim illustrates by his use of social media is Christianity. The Bible, unlike other holy books, is a story, beginning to end. And it's a very dramatic story. And it's a story that is full of twists and turns that nobody predicts.
Yeah.
Because God is God and we ain't God. And the Bible, according to Christianity, Old and New Testament, is his book. It's his book. It reveals his story, history, his story. And it's a narrative. It's a story, just like what Tim has done for not just the people of Maine, but for anybody on the internet who's willing to scroll his feed and read his book and look at his content. Tim, a year and a half ago, decided to live a story online, his story.
Yeah.
His personal story, his and Jen's story. And one particular troll was loosed into Tim's story. And that became part of where we are now in Maine politically, specifically on this issue of gender in our schools.
Yeah.
Tim is telling that story now in a way that he would not have told it if it weren't for the troll. And so it is what it is, and it's full of drama. It's
true. It's true. Okay. I mean, in some ways, the troll drove me out of the woods. And no, I mean, seriously, right? And Jeff has been just verbose here on the chat. He's been throwing all sorts of good stuff in there. And talking about basically like, I'm too what? Okay, people are cutting off body parts of our children. And we're over here arguing whether I'm a little too, maybe I shouldn't have said something about somebody's freaking wife. And then I took it down and deleted and apologized for it. Okay, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. When I read that, I went, okay, because I remember why I'm so angry, because I don't have children anymore. Right. And I mean, it was just weaponized against me. But I mean, bottom line is the cultural Marxism. Can you get the dog, please? That was what destroyed this. And this is what I fight against. And this is why I'm just pissed. And so when I see people,
let me jump in there. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're pissed. You're pissed. You're a Christian man and you're pissed. And let me say this about the Republican gubernatorial primary. I think that's going to be the most important selection we make next year for Maine going forward, is who's going to take the place of Jezebel Janet Kills.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain it's going to be a Republican. It's becoming a very crowded field. But nobody outside of Bobby Charles, and even he, to my taste, isn't pissed enough. Nobody.
Yeah, other people are saying that.
Nobody is pissed enough, because what we're dealing with here with our children and our grandchildren in our public schools it's not something you talk about.
Yeah. No.
It's something you fix.
Yeah. And people actually expressed after the debate, a lot of people were a little upset with how calm and just kind of casual they were. There's like, the transition in our children. We definitely want to stop that. Yeah.
Man, dude, the people should be glad right now that my wife is sick and I'm at home and I can't get out of the cabin and I didn't go there. I really, because I probably
yeah. You wouldn't be able to go there. Well, I mean, you could. It's $250 a pop.
Well, there you go. Ice me right the hell out.
Yeah. Everyone's like, hey, you're going to take off work and go to that? I'm like, I'm not going to miss out on an entire shift of work and then spend $250 when I can just watch it.
No, I got clips of it for free.
Yeah, there we go.
The excitement.
Yeah.
Look, Maine men especially, have had it with that side of politics, the money side of politics. We've had it. I'm done with it.
Why do you think men don't freaking go to church anymore?
Right.
It ain't fucking cool. And I'm sorry, there I did it again, okay? But I mean, look, part of what I'm doing here is I'm trying to inspire men and package Christianity in a way that is true and real, but the nature of what it is, that if you can't be asleep in front of a video game just bitching about shit on the internet, okay? You got to wake up. You got to say, look, maybe I need to and this is where Charlie Kirk came in. I think a lot of people started waking up and going, man, maybe I should go back to church, right? Well, I just want to make sure that they have something that they can relate to, not this effeminated Christianity that's in the walls of the church that's going to put them back to sleep and back out in the hunting field again.
That's what's happening. I had people reach out and just say they went back to church for the first time, but it was the most horrible service. They said it's the leaders and the and I can't.
Yeah, you're making a point now that I want to. You said something about me being angry and stuff.
Let me fill my coffee. It'll be half a second.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe me. No, I for 20 years bore the responsibility of speaking for evangelical Christianity in politics. So I had an institutional duty. It wasn't personal. I had a job to do. I was paid to do it.
Sure.
I was speaking for an organization that crossed its centenary, its 100-year birthday, while I was in charge of it, the Christian Civic League of Maine. Mm-hmm. And what I learned doing that job for almost 20 years is that the institutional layer of Maine and of the West is so corrupted morally. It's so weak and corrupted morally that it can't get out of its own way. The institutional layer. What do I mean by that? Well, that would be the moneyed interests, the appointed interests, the elected interests, the people who bear institutional responsibility have failed Maine, and they're failing the West right now. And the politicians who want Maine men especially, but also women, to take them seriously are going to have to work hard. They're going to have to dig deep to discover a moral narrative that expresses outrage without lighting a civil war.
Yeah.
Because like you say, Richard, if we're going to move from civil strife to civil war, none of these people matter.
Yeah.
None of us matter.
No.
This becomes military. Like you say, it becomes our children, our grandchildren dying on battlefields.
Yep.
That's what it becomes. The whole society shifts to following generals and military leadership into war. Mm-hmm. That's what's next.
Nobody believes that, though. Nobody, I think, still really understands that. I don't think that they understand, which is part of the reason they don't understand the show that's going on right now. That especially on the school board level.
Yeah.
And I've had an inkling, and that the school board is the key to get to the very heart of the problem, because it is producing the next wave of politicians we're just going to have to deal with. And so we can generationally take it back by putting pressure on a local level. And the state does not have the resources to sue every single school board in the state of Maine. They just don't. And they've already expressed a disinterest in doing so if they would return to Title IX. It just requires pressure. It requires the absurdity of the situation to be demonstrated to them in full view of the world in a very short period of time.
I think, Tim,
I will accomplish that.
I think, Tim, you showed the way in Lincoln. You drove up there with Jen at great sacrifice, quite a little bit of a drive for the two of you. And you arrived, you didn't know what was going to happen. You spun it up using X by releasing evidence to suggest that there was a teacher there who was celebrating Kirk's death and who was actually a communist. And you presented the evidence ahead of the meeting, and everybody's seen it, right? And you end up being assaulted. And the guy in the suit, who I'm told is a conservative, ends up quitting. That moment in Maine history, I think, is going to be important. Because it showed what you showed to the people of Maine is what a Maine man looks like when he's dealing with something that's morally murderous. It's not about talking, it's about doing something. It's about prancing around the school board with a cell phone on and recording it and acting in a polemic fashion within politics. You didn't go there to be violent. You didn't go there to launch a war. You went there like the jester, and you acted the part, and you ended up illustrating the problem. The problem is we're talking too much about the wrong things, especially when it comes to our children.
The argument of whether or not that was appropriate. Okay, there are people having a pissing match over whether or not it was right for the guy to smack the phone out of my hand because I was too irritating. And we're talking about people getting their body parts cut off. Yeah, so we're focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah, the guy was too sensitive. He was definitely way too sensitive, and I think this is how and I could be wrong. I think that Tim should have just said, "Yeah, he's nothing. I'm not even going to press charges." But maybe that's the wrong way. I don't know. I just feel like with the
reason that I haven't, and I'll be honest with everyone right now, is my mind is open. It has been from the beginning. I've done polls on it.
Yeah.
Okay, what I should do about this. Nothing's done yet. And so I decided, well, there is a Republican district attorney in Penobscot County. I want to see if they're going to treat the elite, the people that were on the school board differently than the rest of the people.
Yeah.
So I think I want to see that first before I make any decisions whatsoever on what I want to do. And that doesn't mean that I'm not ultimately going to be loving and merciful, right? I want to do the right thing before God's eyes, but the guy broke the law, right? So 80% of people say, no, of course not. They created this world. They stepped out of it. You were doing your job.
One of the things I see illustrated by what we're doing right now with respect to social media and the internet and the point that Tim's making about deciding regarding the assault, and a point you made earlier, Richard, about the internet not being real. It isn't real. It creates this almost psychopathy in our minds where we throw out the clock and we get into this, doom scrolling and all this unreal kind of thinking and relating to one another. But the three of us are in real places. This is live. This is real. This is on the internet, and we're talking about very real things, not imagined things. And you guys are, you Richard, you Tim, Corn Pop, you guys are pointing the way for political activism right of center. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The three of you, you're like a trinity. Richard, Nick, and Tim. You're demonstrating something. You're showing us in different, each of you in different ways with different strengths. You're showing who are us, men who want this to end. They want this conversation about the kids in the schools and sex to go. They want it over.
Yeah, that's right.
They want it over.
Yep.
And they want to see Maine move on to more important things.
Yeah.
Right.
Instantly, because we got a lot of big issues to confront and deal with. The government does. And that's what I see this being about, what we're doing right now.
Let me interject something too, because I was thinking about this. What we're doing right now is significant and important. And this was kind of part of the vision that I had a year ago, that I wanted to do something, okay, that was totally transparent to the world. Okay, like something where you had board meetings and it's live, like just like the school board meetings, right? Where you work shit out. Now, I looked you dead in the camera. I looked dead in your eye, Richard. I love you. You're my closest counselor. I told you what you just said pissed me off. That right there in front of the whole fucking world. What do I care? It pissed me off. So I told you about it. And you said, well, blah, 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 blah. And you press back. And it's like, if you cannot see at this point, I mean, tell anybody to come out here and watch this interview and see how I react to direct criticism from one of the closest people that if they turn their back on me, I would be probably very upset more than anyone else would be you, Richard. And I have no problem with you telling me exactly what the hell's on your mind. And everybody needs to know that this guy does this to me all the time, always pressing back on me.
I believe it. I believe it. So, and what's important here to think about is this is not the way the anon culture has worked. The etiquette that has developed online with respect to the anonymous activity, and it has its place. I'm not speaking against it. I mean, in politics, you go back to, you've got people who take up different names, right, and write books under surname, whatever pseudonyms.
Yeah.
So that's not my point. But my point is what we've seen happen with the internet is you've got this anonymous culture that has built up and has a certain set of rules, which is fine. It's fine. But that's not what we're doing here, and that's not what's needed now, especially with live streaming being affordable. Is we need people to go out in their own names. If you're comfortable doing it, be who you are online.
Yeah. Be
yourself online. Find your voice. Find a way to do what we're doing here.
You made us something the other day, comment yesterday. You said what you like and are attracted to, Michael. You said is the raw aspect of what is going on here, and I think people are hungry for raw. I think we're so done with refined and decorum and the rules and the please watch your speech and this, that, and the other thing that have all been literally designed to shut down actual humanity and the way that it's supposed to work into little silos.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Richard.
Well, Mike, from your perspective, what do you think that the purpose of the right-wing conservative Christian activism serves? Like, what do you think the agenda, the goal, the outcome is?
We in Maine need to stand up for our traditions, for our history, and we need to do it with logic and reason and the appropriate measure of emotion, which at this point for Maine men and women is going to include a lot of salty language and a lot of passion, but
if someone went to you and said, "East, this stuff is a little bit too over the top,"
mm-hmm.
What would be your response to them? Why they do it that way? Because it doesn't have to be done that way, but why are they doing it that way? It doesn't have to be, but what is the purpose for them to be over the top?
Well, because if you just try to try to make a difference on any of these school boards, and you immediately run into the abuse of the English, what do you call it? The Robert's Rules of Order. You immediately run into the abuse of Robert's Rules of Order. And what we find in our politics in Maine is that the institutional class, the institutional level, from the school board up to the senator, have become master manipulators of Robert's Rules of Order.
But beyond that, they've created a filter, right,
Mhm.
to prevent the average person from entering the court.
Yes.
Correct.
And so what Tim and Nick and others have done is that they've been able to bypass that filter, right, which is the media, which is the people on the council telling people what they can say and what they can't say. What right-wing conservative Christian activism, from my perspective, if someone says, why is it over the top? You could say there's a filter that's been created in society to prevent people from speaking out. The media will attack them, frame it, do it however, or if they're actually correct, they will ignore the entire situation. So no one in the public knows.
Did you ever own an old walkie-talkie? Do you know what Do you know what a squelch dial is?
No.
They've dialed the squelch. It's when you turn it up so that only the signal breaks through. The loudest of signals breaks through. You don't hear the.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
So they've turned the squelch up so high that it's silent. It's like the mute. Remember the mics where they control the mics, where it's like you know somebody's mumbling in the audience. They're kind of yelling, but you can't hear them.
Well, and so what happens is right now, what we're going through, Tim's turmoil circles back to all this. Tim and Nick, and no one has ever done right-wing activism before. We just don't have a frame of reference for it. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of mistakes made. There's going to be a lot of attacks. And what Tim and Nick are doing is they're going forward and they're trying this new thing, the Jester's Dance, getting as close to the king and queen as possible. But while they're doing it, a lot of people are going, why are you doing this? But you need to be able to defend yourself correctly. And you need to explain, listen, if we don't do it over the top, then the media will not cover us. The media won't talk about it. Right. The school boards and the leaders or whatever will block out our message. And what's happened is that they've proven without a doubt that by doing this this move, this right-wing activism, they've gone past the filter to the courts, done the dance, pointed out the mockery and the fallacy within the system itself, and shown the entire world. You've got to simplify that. You need to explain that to people, because otherwise they will become your enemy. And you need to explain to them, and that's your defense, is that's what you're doing. Right. Is that you're not there to destroy people or take them down. You're there to do a bold, theatric Jester's dance to show the world the hypocrisy and the weakness of the administrative class.
Right. Now, here's the thing, though, okay, and you're right. As soon as that happened, when Lincoln blew up, you'll notice there was a whole flurry of posts I did about polemics. Because everybody went, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
right?
Still no, you never defined it, though.
Oh, you don't read your feed, Richard.
He did, actually.
So much. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's so much. It's like,
I know. because you're at 30,000, 40,000 feet, man. If I say more than one sentence at a time or two sentences, he won't read it.
Yeah, right. And on this point, Richard, I did do it before the internet. I did it statewide, and I used the people Paul Medore, Paul Volley, and I used polemics pre-internet in Maine to such great effect that even though we were deep, way outspent on this whole woke question, specifically gay rights, adding sexual orientation to the Human Rights Act, that we won. And we were mismatched big time. And we did it the way Tim is using the internet. What I see is unique with what Tim and Corn Pop are doing, especially Tim. They're making masterful use of the internet, specifically of social media, which I think of as more as anti-social media. And the reason I think of it as anti-social media is because it's so manipulated and controlled. And most people have come to the point where they feel the same way, that they're being manipulated and controlled. And what Tim and Nick represent on the internet is the answer to that, which is, in Tim's case, every single day tweeting, not shrinking back, putting his face on there with all kinds of different expressions to compliment his thing, and I'm
not saying it's wrong to do that.
Right. No, I know.
But what's the part that people worry about is that once that, and you can see this is going to happen to most humans, is that once you start getting, and even Tim, at least Tim admitted it, is that once you start getting a lot of people that are watching it, you start to feel much more powerful. So
Yes.
then you start making, you assert things, you start demanding, governors, you better listen to me. If you don't do this, I'll crush you. But the problem is on our side, if we start seeing a hint of authoritarianism coming from someone that gains a little bit of power, everyone flees. Everyone flees. And I'm going to pick on Nick for a second. Tim corrected himself here when he started calling out Bobby Charles on baseless things. Nick's now, he's feeling the boldness, right? So now he's online blasting Bobby Charles. And maybe Bobby Charles could be all these things. But if I ask Nick, I guarantee he can't give me a single answer. He's going, Bobby Charles is evil. He's a deep state. He's a globalist. He's going nonstop because he feels like he has the power to crush this guy. But if I pull Nick aside, and this guy could be those things, all of it, right? But if I pull Nick aside, I can destroy Nick one-on-one and go, I want you to break down Bobby Charles' history and explain to me exactly why he is. And Nick will give me about 30 seconds. And then beyond that knowledge is nothing. And people will see that and go, you're just emotionally trying to control which way I vote for. And Bobby Charles could easily be all these things. I'm not saying he's not. But the problem is you have to be careful to be an authoritarian with nothing behind you. If you have no backing, then
you're absolutely you're absolutely right. Okay. And like you said, the mistake I made was when I did something and I felt like, yep, you know what? I went down that wrong road and I started getting sucked into it just for the sake of the conflict, right? Because I realized what you said is, can you back that up? And I went, oh shit, I can't.
Yeah,
like,
and if
I haven't researched it, I haven't sat down and talked to him, and I've been begging to talk to these people for months, but that's a whole nother story. Okay. But yeah, and you'll notice, what am I doing here this morning? I'm talking to you guys, right? I'm trying to debrief from what happened yesterday, and I'm aware of what's been going on. And Nick and I talk, and you and I talk, Richard, and all this kind of stuff. I said nothing, man. I have decided not to make a course of action yet. I decided not to decide just yet because I don't want to be guilty of what it is as a clanging cymbal. I don't want to be a clanging cymbal.
Well,
right?
Let's just say but imagine this. Let's just say Bobby Charles wins the primary. Well, what are you going to say now?
Right.
Are you going to tell everyone that follows you, oh, well, actually, you know what? What I said was that I had no weight. You know what? Let's go follow Bobby now. You're going to look like, and he's cornering himself that he wants to double down. I think if he can literally present the evidence and go, this guy's really bad. Like, hear me out. This is all the evidence. Fine, I'll get behind him. But I have a feeling he doesn't have any of that. And then if Bobby Charles does win the primaries, you're now stuck having nothing. Bobby Charles isn't going to work with you. You're completely shut out. If he's your best hope versus, like the left, it's a tricky situation. But I'm like, oh, you're doing exactly what Tim did immediately right after the same exact thing. Almost word for word. And it's easy for anyone to fall in that move. You're like, well, I'm respected now. And now what I say is going to.
Yeah. Now, I mean, seriously, I get what you're saying. And like breaking down a little bit of the bit I watched about from the debates, right? My biggest criticism, right, is the lack of fire in the belly, right? And you'll notice that I don't ever walk up to a damned podium ever with a piece. I mean, I've had papers, but I just got talking points. I don't read anything, right? Because I don't memorize things either, because to me, it's like it always is going to come off and feeling like you're going through some sort of motions, whether you are or not. And so I think that's the biggest criticism I have of anyone. But again, I don't know that field. I know people that I like because I'm going off of guts. But right now, yeah, shooting from the hip is not good.
No, and if you're going to be a leader, right? Like if you had a general of an army come to a podium, they're not going to be like, give you this. They're going to give you a very emotionally controlled and calm look. Trump plays the balance. He'll go fake news, blah, 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 like that. But he'll sit there and talk to you. The governor, people running for governor can't be theatrical because it just comes off as it's not serious, right?
Right.
And so someone that comes to a podium, they need to have a sword, right? They need to cut right through the nonsense and right through the bullshit. We don't need someone that comes up there as like full of theatrics as a governor. You need someone that, because a lot of people, like if you hear a general speak, they don't go in front of the whole audience trying to instill this Hollywood syndrome, Braveheart thing. They look at the crowd and they say, this is what's going on. This is the precision attack. This is what we do.
Right.
This is how we defeat our enemy. There's
Right.
no bullshit. There's no emotional stuff.
Right.
So what we need is someone that does feel it from the core, but they need to be very They're just kind of throwing mud right now. They're just throwing stuff.
They can't be me, which is why I'm not running.
But there's
because I am. That is not my place in all.
But we can criticize Bobby Charles for that. If you follow a social media account, he's just going catchphrase, and he's going to fall on his own sword if he can't actually So when you actually watch Bobby Charles, he's not this very precision guy with a nice layout going, this is how, like, if you think of Trump, yeah, he's funny sometimes, but a lot of times he's just like, no, we're going to end this. This is done. Bobby Charles' campaign, the part that we can criticize on him is he's just throwing mud everywhere. He's like, no immigrants, I stand with ICE. Here we go. We're going to chop down this tree. No taxes here. No taxes here. Like this, once you actually get through the muddy part of it, there's nothing that I don't think that you'll see much there except for just catchphrases. Right? And that's what I got from him. And then suddenly we start looking at different
so far, that's the only criticism that I've made since I made my apology to him is I said, see, Bobby, I said, what you're saying is right? It just feels a little spammy, I guess, was something, and that's not going to resonate with the people that are following me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the only criticism I've had up to now. Then probably I'm going to keep it for a minute.
My friend Paul Madore says what Maine needs in its next executive is a force of nature, and I think that's true.
Yeah,
and it's got to, that force of nature needs to be built on the history and the traditions and the moral truths that are Maine. It needs to be built on those aspects of Maine that resonate with the people of Maine. And the man who can do that in this Republican primary probably win. The man who figures out how to do that. And the one thing I've seen always neglected by politics in Maine, right of center, is a reasoned, impassioned, to the appropriate level, moral argument. I see all kinds of policy wonkish, economics, taxes too high, yada yada, all that kind of thing. But the minute abortion comes up, they're all trying to find the perfect weasel phrase to get to the next subject, if they don't just pivot away from it instantly. And that's not going to work anymore. On these social issues, you had better have a force of nature statement to make, like Trump did on abortion. In his first, he ran on it. He was very clear about it, and he delivered on it in terms of the United States Supreme Court. Roe versus Wade was repealed. And oftentimes Trump does that. That's his style. He'll speak very directly, and then he'll deliver. Unfortunately, in my opinion, he's delivering on some stuff that I didn't vote for him to deliver on. But be that as it may, he's a man, speaks his mind and acts and keeps moving. And that's what we better get that next time, or I don't know what's going to happen. We better get that in our chief executive in Maine, or I don't know.
Do we have it in the field now?
I haven't seen it. Have you guys seen it? I haven't seen it yet.
Glimpses of it.
Yeah.
Very, very small glimpses.
Yeah.
I see it. I see the moral component of Maine politics in what Tim and Nick are doing on the internet. Outside of that, I don't know where's the outrage? Where's the moral argument being made? Is Laurel Libby making it? I don't see it. Is Heidi Sampson making it? I mean, they're doing good work, they're doing good things, but is it fueled by a moral argument?
No, probably not.
No. So,
Just
No, if there's morality, and man, I'm very careful not to judge a man's heart. Okay, but the overflow of a man's heart, it comes out of his mouth, right? And this is the heart of what we've been talking about here is, and again, goals. What are my goals, right? Evangelism, Christianity, free speech. That's a whole nother thing that I haven't even begun to address, is that yes, I'm speaking to Christians. I'm trying to draw people to Christ, but at the same time, I'm also trying to talk to a group of people that might never know Christ. But I want them to open their damn mouths and say what the hell's on their mind, because just because they don't know Christ doesn't mean they have not been affected by cultural Christianity and don't want queer shit in the schools. See, so it's, it's very complicated, everything that's going on. And I think that any one of us to try and get an understanding of the whirlwind, I think we find ourselves in. I don't think any of us is prepared completely for the day we find ourselves in. And I think all of us are fumbling through it a bit. Wouldn't you say?
absolutely. Yeah, no, none of us get to know the future, and we're going to get to the solution here in Maine as people learn how to and choose to use that tool that they have.
I don't have that tool. I'm the only
that
person in
weapon
the
that
world.
they have. Well, I mean, you use a computer version.
I have a computer, but I'm the only human being that you'll ever meet that doesn't have a cell phone.
Right, and good for you.
Well, isn't that odd though? Like you met people growing up that didn't have TVs. You met people that didn't have VCRs or stuff like that. I'm the only human being that you'll ever meet that doesn't have a cell phone. I could say that very strongly, because in the decade I haven't had a cell phone, I've never met another human being that said, "Nah, I don't have a cell phone." I'm the only person that you will ever meet that doesn't have a cell phone.
Which makes my point. If you've got one, and it sounds like everybody has one, why aren't you using it for what it's made for, which is to communicate the truth? It's a way to network with or be in relationship with other people. So use it for the truth. Yeah. Use it to bring.
It can't. Yeah. I think that the internet will only. I think the internet is going to cause the biggest lie. It allows for the biggest lies in the universe to ever be created, more than we've ever seen in the physical realm.
Oh, that is true.
The internet is literally it's not a place of truth, because once AI takes over and everything, there's no truth at all. The internet is literally a place. It's a digital realm that the lies will be able to be the most powerful and strongest. There's no other spot in the universe.
It does feel that if the squelch is going to get turned up so high that no amount of screaming will pierce through it. And that's what's going on right now. All right. Is, I don't know if you've ever seen the album The Wall or the movie The Wall, but it's like this, there's this breaking through feeling vibe that I have that we've just fallen asleep as a culture. Following the American dream, Christianity went to sleep, fecklessly got shamed back into the churches, and our schools became a breeding ground of Marxism and queer shit. That's all it is. And they're not educating the children. And I'm like, wow, we find ourselves in this reality in this day and age now. And to the point where they've actually killed one of us and tried to kill the president a couple of times. We are in a new day and age here. Right. So I don't know what this Wild West exactly is supposed to look like, but the way it was 5 weeks ago, I'm not willing to accept that anymore.
The internet either the internet will be conquered, or the forces that currently control it are going to use it as a weapon to conquer humanity and basically destroy what's human about us and bring about the singularity and all of that craziness, So I think we're going to win. I think we are going to rein in the internet, and we are going to put it under our control. I think that's going to happen. But we're at the darkest moment right now with this technology.
I have to leave. I kind of put. I should have told you before. I about 10 minutes ago. I keep getting nagged. I was supposed to be at something.
Oh,
Sorry.
about that.
No. I stay a little bit longer. I don't mean it. I'm like 9:45. I'm like 9:50. Now I'm
I'll let. Thanks for taking time.
We'll wrap it up, dude. It was good to talk to you, Richard. Thanks for your feedback.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
See ya. So Tim, all right. Thanks for coming on. I know you were not going to live stream for a couple of weeks, so appreciate it.
It's like I had to process what happened yesterday, right? Because I made some choices, and the other thing too is it's funny, people see this something happen, right? And they don't understand because it is the internet, and we saw with Richard today. I make the stupid assumption that people are following me, read everything that I've written, and watch everything that I've posted out there. Well, that's not true, right? But if I act as such, then I expect people, hey, I explained this. Hey, I apologize for this. Hey, And so I think that that it's very interesting to note that, people get this information in bits and pieces. And I think early on, I learned this even with texting when I was texting people, that that goes through the phone lines. They don't necessarily always are in order.
Right.
And boy, that can make for some really messed up communications. And so people don't understand that when I had this issue yesterday and came out and said,
sure, Mike's fine. Go ahead.
That I'm like, there was 9 months or a year and a half of whatever that went into what happened there. And, it's like, oh, there's Bodner going off being a moron again on someone. It's like, no, wait a minute. Okay, if I happen to come at something and say, all right, I see a falsehood, and yes, the falsehood happens to be about me in this particular case. However, it's less about me, except the fact that if you have a person that is perpetrating a falsehood upon someone that they have no reason to do so or evidence, and are knowingly doing it maliciously, and it's brought to your attention, why would you want a person like that in a position of responsibility in an organization that you run? From a security standpoint, in the day and age that we live in, of the war that we live in, that we exist in, to me, that makes no sense. And so my concern, albeit it looks like it's all about me, it's not. It's more the broader concern, which is what was trying to communicate from the very beginning with this hybrid troll situation that we've been talking about, is that needed to be managed, because at one point that had a lot more influence than it does now. And it frustrates me when you bring things to people's attention and they say, you know what, you're just all over the place, and you seem like, you're on cocaine, and you are really in a psychotic break, and you're high, you're low, you're this, you're that, and the other thing. And again, I've lived out my life online. And again, if you want to say this is all about me, it's not about me. It's about my relationship with God, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do in this world as an active person to try and leave a mark, because I don't even have children that talk to me anymore. I want to leave that a legacy. How do I go about doing that? And it's messy, and it's emotional, and it's hard, because you know what? People out there do have wives that go into dementia, and they do have wives that go in the hospital, and they wake up widows, and people drink, and they try and quit smoking, and then they fail when things happen. And it's like, well, you know what? All I can say is I do that because that's what's going on right now, and I committed to do in the beginning. I'm going to follow through on it. And that Christianity is not antiseptic. It's not without its mistakes. And boldness, you mess up. And let me tell you, okay, it's not easy to be out there and be so self-assured, because I'm assured in God most of the time. And then I get this perception that I'm on a tightrope. I am one of those ones that's going to suffer judgment more than everybody else, because I'm professing out here to be some sort of teacher of something, right? That's going to bring me under harsher judgment. I'm walking a tightrope, and I'm out there, and if I sin and make a mistake, everyone is going to see it. Not everyone is capable of doing that, and I hope at least someone gives me that much credit.
You're putting the social into media. You're putting the social. You're defining what's social according to reality.
And
And
sometimes it's antisocial. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes you have a fight.
well, it's human. It's human. It's human.
Yeah,
and
right.
and you've lived it. And most people are used to, choking off the hiding the suffering. Being a little more. You're not that guy. You're not the guy that does that. You wear it on your sleeve and you let it all hang out, and that's the way it goes. And that's part of what is social. I think it becomes antisocial when the goal is to destroy. And I haven't seen that in you. I haven't seen that your focus, in my opinion, watching you these 9 months, is that your focus is on destroying what's evil.
That which is in the way of building what is true, rebuilding what is true. And we all have different roles in life, right? And I made a post the other day about, I'm the plow. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not incapable of watering and sowing and doing all those other steps in the process of birthing Christianity. But sometimes, predominantly, I'm very plow-like.
And the attack that came against you was more personal than it was political, but it was both, and it became legal too in the real world. And you had to navigate all of that without the resources that men who are getting the attention that you have gotten on X don't usually have to fall back on. Lawyers, money, networks. You didn't have any of that to rely on. No. You had to muscle through it. You had to power through it using your own decisions, your own fiber. You had to draw on your own resources to get to this point with Jen and with the True Slinger Project, the book, etc. And good job, in my opinion. Good job. Was it perfect? No, but who is? Who is? And so you have a lot to offer to Maine men and women going forward here politically, and I look forward to continuing to be on the receiving end of that and seeing you touch even more people going forward into 2026. So thank you for.
Thank you for having me. And I, before I came out, I was going to say, man, I'm just happy to go anywhere where people are just happy to see me. Right. I mean, that I'm fortunate enough that somebody invites me anywhere. I'm happy about that.
Well, you said something the other day that I have felt deeply for most of my adult life since my days at the Christian Civic League of Maine. You talked about how when you go to wherever there's the hospital, there's the lesbian, and then you go to the local gas station and there's the whatever, the tranny or whatever it is, and they know who you are. They follow your narrative. They know how strongly you feel about their sin, and that's that. I've lived with that at a very deep level for, like I say, most of my adult life. And these people can be the most vicious without doing it to your face that I've ever met.
And I just to end on this note, right? Hopefully to bring it back to the Bible and God, and I really feel like never in my life have I experienced what I've read in the Psalms and in the groanings of those that the righteous warriors, like David, and that were just crying out because they were desperate, because the wolves and the hounds were out to get them. Okay. Yeah. And that all sorts of manner of people will say all sorts of foul things about you and count it all as blessing. You're blessed. And so these biblical truths and these realities I'm I made it to the big show in Christianity, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
I'm living the Bible because I'm really in a position where I'm experiencing it fully, because I'm expressing, and that is creating resistance. And then now I have to go and seek the refuge of the Lord to figure out how to deal with my enemies. This is living biblically. This is good stuff.
Yeah, amen. So to close the show, I'm going to say the Lord's Prayer, and if you want to say it with me, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Our Father who art in heaven,
Heaven,
hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen and amen. Thank you
for that, the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Okay.
I let
that way.
I let there's, you know, the priest does his thing. As you know, you were part of the church. And then you say,
yeah. All right, Michael. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. Thank you for this wonderful political discourse, and I enjoy you as a friend. Thank you for loving on me. I love you.
All right. God bless you.
See you, brother.